If you've ever watched a great film, you'll notice that the writers and directors always love a resurrection story, where the hero falls, everything looks finished, darkness wins, then somehow they come back. Think of Simba returning in The Lion King, or Gandalf coming back in Lord of the Rings, or Batman miraculously healing his back with ropes and then climbing out of a pit in The Dark Knight Rises, or Harry Potter choosing death and then walking back out again. We're drawn to these stories, and we've got to ask ourselves why. And I think it's because deep down, every one of us knows that this world is not how it's meant to be. And we're desperate for a comeback story. And Easter is the original comeback story. But here's the thing. Easter is not a metaphor. It's not a crafted play written for us and our entertainment. It's not there for inspiration or good vibes. It is a historical claim. A real moment in history where something happened that changes everything. So whether you're here and you're skeptical, or you're unsure, or you're cynical, or you've grown up with this and it's just become a normal fabric of your every year, I want to ask you this morning to look at this with a fresh pair of glasses. We're going to read the story from Matthew 28. It's going to appear on the screen too. It says this. After the Sabbath, at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and, going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. The angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He is risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he is risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now I have told you." So the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly, Jesus met them. "Greetings," he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee, and there they will see me." When I was reading this recently, a verse jumped out at me that I think might be important for each one of us. It says this, after the Sabbath, at dawn on the first day of the week. It's obscure and you could glance over it very quickly, but it's one of the facts across all four narratives in the Gospels in our New Testament that all the writers mention, that this happened at dawn. In fact, it's why we call it Easter. Easter comes from a Germanic root word which means a new dawn. At dawn. Why does the writer put in this detail? I think it's this. Because dawn is where darkness is still real, but light is breaking in. And that's where I think most of us live, in that place. That we're not fully in the dark, but we're not fully in the light either. We carry stuff. We carry with us death. Maybe not physical, hopefully. Check your pulse. We all still good. But something in us or someone close to us might have died recently. We might be facing debt and financial pressure, just the weight of life. We might be facing disappointment that things haven't turned out the way we thought. It might be diagnoses that we've received news recently that has changed everything for us. It might be disillusionment that our faith doesn't match our everyday reality. It might be for some of us just despondency. We're just tired. Easter begins at dawn. Not in the midst of summer when everything is rosy, in the middle of dawn. And then we're told that two women go to the tomb, and we have to pause there because if you're making this story up in the first century or thinking of your best possible conspiracy theory, you would not choose women as your primary witness because in that culture, their testimony wasn't even considered valid in court. And yet all four Gospels say that women were there first because this is not a polished propaganda stunt or a great PR move made by some people. It's eyewitness testimony. And the thing is, they go fully expecting to anoint. We're told with spices in Mark's gospel, they're not expecting a miracle. They're not expecting a comeback. They are expecting to meet a corpse. They go fully expecting that kind of body. And so if you are doubting in the room, Christianity did not begin with people who were gullible, nor did it begin with people who were sure and confident. It began with people who were grieving, who were mourning. One of their best mates, their leader, the person they looked up to, has just died. Sometimes we feel that to enter this kind of space, if we're going to go to church, we have to check out our negative emotions at the door and pretend to be shiny, happy people. And that is a lie. We're told in the Bible that God draws close to the brokenhearted. If you're grieving, the Easter story is for you. And then we're told there's an earthquake. Anyone else's parents, when you were growing up, say that whenever there's thunder and lightning, it's God moving the furniture? Like, there's an earthquake going on, and throughout the Old Testament, whenever an earthquake is happening, it's telling us that God is about to do something or say something important. We should take note. And then we're told an angel. The Greek word for angel is angelos, which literally means a messenger of God. We're told that the stone is rolled away. The angel says something that's the worst bit of advice to give someone who is scared. Do not be afraid. Why does the angel say that? Because fear is the natural response when your categories get broken. When you're expecting one thing and you receive another, it's totally understandable. Human response is one of fear. Now, I've been married almost 20 years, and my favorite thing about married life, my favorite thing above all else, is that I live with someone that I can jump scare on a daily basis. It's incredible, isn't it? She comes home, minding her own business from shopping or whatever, bags full, and I'm there underneath a table or behind a door, breathing slightly, like holding my breath, so I can just, Wah! She's terrified every time, every single time. It's so good in our household that, in fact, sometimes I'll be just minding my own business, reading a book, and I can hear my wife coming in, and she's walking slowly, expecting to see me jump out of something. It's a wonderful thing. Fear is a very natural response when your categories get broken. So now, not only are they grieving, they're now scared too. Easter is not for those who have it all together. Maybe you don't feel scared right now, expecting a clown to jump out. Clowns are terrifying, aren't they? Anyone else in the clowns are terrifying camp? Yeah, a few of us. We can all meet together after. Awful things. But maybe you have an underlying anxiety. Maybe you think, well, if people knew the real me, then they wouldn't love me or accept me, or God couldn't possibly love me because I let him down all the time. If you're scared, you're also in good company. And then we hear the words that change history. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said. This is the claim. Not that Jesus lives on in our memories and we meet together once a year to go, oh, wasn't that lovely? Not that his teachings continue, like we open up a book of sayings and go, didn't Jesus say some great things? The claim is this, that he physically rose from the dead. And if that is true, if it is true, everything else changes. And now I know, because we're an honest bunch, that some of us are thinking, that sounds nice, Alex, but people don't rise from the dead. And that is a fair assumption. Even the first followers of Jesus, some of them doubted. But historians, even non-Christian historians, agree on a few things. They agree that Jesus was crucified under Pontius Pilate. They agree that his tomb was found empty. They agree that his followers genuinely believed they saw him alive. And they agree that those same followers were willing to suffer and even die in very gruesome ways for that belief. Now, the thing is, we know throughout history that people might die for a lie they think is true, but it is very rare for people to die for a lie that they know they made up. Something happened. Something happened. The question is, what best explains it? All of history changed on that claim based upon the eyewitnesses of a few women, and later on around 400 to 500 people saw Jesus' risen body. Now, I sometimes go to the football, and up here in the Northwest, I get to watch my team, Fulham, get beaten by Liverpool, or Manchester United, or Manchester City, or Everton. And the thing is, there are thousands of people in that stadium, whenever I go, who will swear that their team did the better job, no matter the result, right? Even if Fulham lose, we're like, well, it's the ref's fault. We were a better team, but we just lacked energy. Or it's the manager's fault. Or we need a new sponsor. Or the ground was smelly. Or whatever. Anyone been to that new Everton? Yeah, I know, right? But those eyewitness accounts, the thing is, even my eyewitness account, it never changed the scoreline. The scoreline is still often 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, whatever. Why was it that these few women, then 11 disciples of Jesus, then a wider group of working class people claimed to see Jesus of Nazareth walking about, teaching, eating, doing miracles, and that claim ended up bringing down the oppressive Roman Empire, giving birth to orphanages, caring for widows, eventually resulting in the abolition of slavery, free school movements, hospitals, modern science. Was it really just a hallucination? Was it really just a ploy for control? Was it really made up? And what about the billions of people who have since then said, not only do they believe in this, but they have a personal relationship with Jesus? Not just a quiet faith or a nice regard, but they have a personal relationship with Jesus. Not just an honor for his teachings or to offer sacrifice every now and then to appease some god, but scholars, scientists, stay-at-home mums, school teachers, and students, rational people who follow Jesus, say they have a living and active relationship with Jesus. So we've got to ask ourselves, are they all mad? Are they all deluded? What makes sense in this moment? And so then we go back to the story. We're told that the women run. They're afraid, they're scared, and yet they're filled with joy, and they run. I think that's a real picture of faith. The thing is, faith is not about mustering up certainty and disregarding our pain and good vibes only. It's and disregarding our suffering and any other negative emotion, but it's responding to our humanity and all our complex emotions, and yet still running towards Jesus with joy. And Jesus meets them, not in a temple, not in a place of power, but on the road. And I love what he says to him. Greetings. Sup? How's it going? It's just normal. Because ultimately, Jesus' resurrection doesn't remove his humanity, it restores it. One archbishop said that Jesus is the most human. And what we see in Jesus' resurrected form is we see what humanity should be like. Eternally with God, our Creator, eternally whole, eternally healed, and so they fall at his feet and worship him. Then he says this, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee." Now, Galilee wasn't the good place. It wasn't the special place. It wasn't the holy place. It wasn't the center of power. Galilee is where it all started. Ordinary, messy, but it's where the lost are. Jesus goes back there because he's still looking for the lost. So if you're anxious and scared, Easter's for you. If you feel lost and hurting, Easter is for you. Now the thing is, there's three types of resurrection that we experience when we read through the Bible. There's the kind of resurrection like Lazarus, where Jesus heals Lazarus, and Lazarus walks about a bit, freaks a few people out, they think he's a zombie, and eventually he does die again. That type of resurrection. And then Jesus' resurrection. Jesus rises and never dies again. He defeats death itself. And then there is a third type of resurrection in the Bible that's described, and it's our own individual resurrection. The invitation, not that Jesus rose, but that you can rise with him. Not physically right now, unless, again, if anyone's pulse is, we might pray for it, but spiritually, a new life, a new start, a new identity. And we are told that God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him shall have eternal life and not perish. We too will rise again if you give your yes to Jesus, because all of us need an Easter moment. A moment where we face the darkness of the tomb and realizing that God is there too, and he is the one who rolls the stone away. So what does your Easter moment look like? It may look like asking for help with your drinking and porn habits when you're 19. It may look like being 24, telling someone about the sexual abuse you experienced as a child. It may look like asking friends to pray for you for cycles of anger, self-doubt, and self-loathing you experienced in your early 30s. It may look like sitting in therapy and facing things from your past. It may look like cultivating friendships where you're actually honest and can share the real pain that you're going through in your life. It might look like that. That's what it looks like for me. That's the territory of resurrection. Because I think what so many of us try and do is we try and manage the stone. We try and think, well, if I change my life in this direction, maybe things will get better. If I add this new routine, maybe things will get better. If I just look in the mirror with a post-it note on it that says, you are beautiful, maybe my life will get better. Jesus rolls the stone away. Easter is not a once-a-year celebration. It is the lived-out, everyday reality of the person who wishes to follow Jesus. And here's the key. Easter is not about becoming a better version of yourself. It's about becoming filled with Christ. Being a Christian is not a self-improvement strategy. It's an invitation into dying and rising again. And so to the doubter in the room, you do not have to switch off your brain to believe this. You just have to be open to the possibility that something happened that doesn't quite fit your current framework. And if Jesus really rose, then he's not just a teacher. He's not just a good moral speaker. He is Lord. And to the person who grew up with this, be careful. Be careful that this doesn't become normal. It doesn't become small. This is not a nice tradition. This is the moment that history turned. The early church exploded not just because of good ethics, but because they believed a dead man walked out of a grave. And to the person who feels stuck, entrapped in a tomb, still in the dark, still carrying stuff, still at dawn, Jesus meets people there. Not when you've got it all sorted, but right now. And so here's the invitation. Bring your stuff to him. All of yourself. The hidden stuff, the heavy stuff, the stuff you think disqualifies you, and let him roll the stone away. Because resurrection is not just something that happened, it's something that happens to you, in you, and for you. And today is about celebrating a Jesus who is still rolling stones away.